Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Bandit. Welcome to Bandit's Rules of the Road. I'm going to do a special cold weather truck driving show to let those of you who have no clue about the world of trucking in on some of the problems we have as truckers when it comes to cold weather. The next time you see a driver going down the road and it is right now 5 below zero actual temp, we don't screw with that wind chill crap. Uh, Realize that in order to get your food to the store, in order to get your furniture to the store, the housing, building products, your fuel to the gas station, all the things that you need to go on with your life, a trucker has to bring to you at some point in time. Yes, trains bring a lot of stuff, but they can't deliver to the stores. So at some point in time, it has to come off the train, get on a truck, and go to the local stores. A lot of products never see a train. They go from the manufacturer directly to a store or to another manufacturer to get built into something that you can use. Trucks move 95% of what you use every day, if not 100%. That's a percentage I don't know for sure. But anyway, the gist of it is we're out here doing it when you can stay home warm and snug in your house on a Sunday morning. And some of the things that we have to deal with are simple things that you guys don't need to think about on a daily basis, and we do. For instance, this morning, I started my truck. I have to plug in my truck. It's got a block heater in it. It keeps the engine temperature up just a little bit so that it'll start. Otherwise, a diesel is not like a gasoline engine. It doesn't have spark plugs. It creates the heat to ignite the diesel. If it's so cold outside, it can't create enough heat. It won't start. So I had my truck plugged into my driveway and started it up a half hour before I had to leave the house and let it run. And then it's a 15-minute ride down to the plant where I pick up my trailer. In that time, my truck did not get up to temperature. In other words, I normally go down the road at 150 degrees and it barely got over 100. Now, there's a couple of reasons why this is important. First of all, the reason that happens is diesels run at a lot higher temperature than a gas engine, so they've got a big radiator up front. Otherwise, in the summer, when it's 95 degrees out, we'd be overheating constantly. The problem is that big radiator, when it's 5 below zero, sucks all that cold air in and doesn't allow the coolant to get up to temperature. Now, I'm drawing my heat in the cab from that temperature, that coolant temperature. When I have to put on the defrosters, which I have to at this temperature, otherwise my side windows fog up, frost over. Whenever you turn on your defroster in your car or in a big truck, it actually engages the air conditioning. And they do this so that your air conditioning runs throughout the year. Otherwise, things in the air conditioner, your compressor, would eventually freeze up from non-use. So they have the defrost. Whenever you kick the defrost on, your air conditioner comes on. Well, I kicked the defrost on, my engine is not up to temperature, and now the air conditioner is running. So, although there is lukewarm air coming off of my defrosters, it's blowing against a cold windshield. So by the time it hits me, it's actually like cool air blowing on me. Okay, that's one of the simple problems. And that's simple because, well, I dress warm, I can deal with that. Some of the non-simple problems. I have to dope my fuel. That's what we call it. Medicine, doctor up my fuel. with fuel supplements. Otherwise, diesel fuel, after a certain temperature, gels up and your truck will not run. So every time I fill up with diesel in this cold weather, I have to put in an additive, a gallon of additive. Now there are truckers that, you know, lived in Florida all their lives, and they come up to Minnesota for one run and they don't know anything about this. And usually once a truck is running, there's enough return fuel going back to the fuel tanks that's been through the engine, so it's hot, it warms up your diesel. You don't have to worry about gelling if you keep your truck running normally. Some trucks don't have a lot of return fuel, they don't warm the tanks up enough, and you'll see a lot of trucks sitting on the side of the road in this kind of weather. A lot of times that's because their fuel gelled up, because they didn't dope their fuel. Well, I've got to worry about that. Then I've got to worry about an air dryer. We have an air compressor on our engine that pumps up the air pressure. That is how our brakes work. Anybody that knows anything about air compressors know that there's a lot of moisture when you compress air. And if that moisture freezes anywhere, there's all kinds of valves and check valves and all kinds of small areas in the air system on a big truck. And one little ice crystal that goes in, say, let's say the my brake relay valve could lock it open. I could have no brakes, or more times than not, could lock it closed, and I can't get my brakes released. So I got to worry about that. There's an air dryer that every time the compressor kicks up to 120 pounds, it spits the moisture out of the compressor system. So I got to worry about that. Make sure that's going all the time. The other thing about brakes is if I've been running all day, my brakes are hot. So I go through a snow drift. Snow goes up inside the drum and then melts instantly, turns into water instantly. And as I'm parking my truck out in front of my house for the night, I go through snow drift. Snow gets up in there, turns to water. I set my brakes. I put my parking brake on. And as the drum cools with that water in there, it freezes. So now I go to release my brake, and the shoe is frozen to the drum. So there you go. There's another thing I got to worry about. Hooking onto, oh boy, there's another thing I got to worry about. Is my windshield washer going to work, or is it going to be froze up? You might have a really dandy time seeing right now. I might have a really dandy time seeing right now. All right. Well, we'll see what happens here. So anyway, another thing that I got to worry about, my airlines. When I hook up to a trailer, they're so stiff, and a lot of times hooking up to a trailer, the glad handle, which actually is the thing that hooks to the trailer, doesn't want to hook, and you have to kind of beat on things. Well, it gets so cold that you might end up breaking an airline. The other thing when hooking up to a trailer is the fifth wheel jaws. The jaws of a fifth wheel are pretty complicated item. I mean, it's a simplistic thing, but when you talk below zero, grease does not want to move, and those jaws are all greased. So you hook up, you think you're hooked up, but the grease doesn't allow the jaws to go completely shut. Now, I've dropped one trailer in my life, in my 25 years. It was 10 below zero. Thought I was hooked up, pulled out from the slot, the trailer fell off. Luckily, it didn't cause any damage. we had a driver last week who dropped a trailer down onto the frame of his truck. Didn't cause any damage. They got it back up. I left the plant this morning, and probably 5 miles down the road, there was a van trailer on the shoulder of the road, and his trailer had come unhooked. He was in trouble. I met a wrecker on his way to go help him out, I'm assuming. But it's Sunday morning. It's 5 below zero. And this guy, I don't know how long he's been sitting there. But, you know, I don't know if this guy's new. I don't know if he's from down south or just one of them freaky deals. But the problem is after I saw him, I've been paranoid. Because I check. I hook up and I tug against the trailer before I release the brakes. And I physically look at the jaws. Yeah, they're closed. But it doesn't mean anything. It truly doesn't. Anything can happen out here when it's this cold. So, like I said, there's just a few of the small things. And then we got to worry about our mirrors getting coated, our windows getting coated. We can't clean them off. It's so cold out here. Our headlights get covered up. Our grill, if it's which would help right now actually if my grill was full of ice. But when it's snowing or icing, I go down the road and my grill gets full of ice. I've had times where I've actually overheated because there was no air getting through my grill. So I've had to go out, open the hood, and snap all the ice off the grill. These are things you normally don't have to worry about in a car. But because of the size of the trucks and the miles we put on them out here, these are a lot of the things that we have to worry about. I don't know that there's a good, other than being careful, being slow, double checking everything. Accidents happen. And in these kind of temperatures, which we're supposed to get even colder this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's supposed to be like 20 below zero actual temp. I might end up leaving my truck running overnight because it's so hard on them. Even with the plug-in block heater, your oil is so thick, the batteries are so cold, the starter is so cold, everything is it's miserable. It's amazing that anything works. Oh, and after I hook up to the trailer, by the way, again, any ice crystals in the system and the trailer brakes won't release. Or whoever parked it there last, if they parked it in a snowbank, the water got up in the snow got up in the drums, it melted, they set the brakes, it refroze. That's a common occurrence actually, and the only thing you can do, because I haul hazardous, I can't get down there with a torch and heat them up. I've got to beat them with a hammer and hope to God that they break free, which is more time for you out in the sub-zero weather and crawling around in the snow, and you get snow down your back, and it's miserable. So, the people that work, iron workers and heavy equipment operators and such that work in cold weather, when it gets this cold, they just don't work. I mean, they call off. Us truck drivers don't get that option most of the time, unless your vehicle just doesn't start. But anyway, the next time you see a trucker going down the road in this kind of weather, say a little prayer for him. It can go bad in a hurry, and it's not fun. I mean, hot days in the summer, oh yeah, you get dirty, you sweat, but you can't die. Well, I guess you can, but it's a rarity. But this stuff out here, you end up on the side of the road, you're not running, and nobody can pick you up. You're out in the middle of nowhere. You can die really easy. So just, like I said, say a prayer for the trucker. He brings your stuff to your table. And that's it. I love you guys. Stay warm, and hopefully I'll be out here this week. Okay. Have a good day.